Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of July 2025. I hope you are well. Let's get these shuffled. I'm using the Knights on Tarot for you today. Here it is. And things that I have to tell you. If the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the, what are the links in the description box below. You're looking for the one that takes you to Self-Fi. Alternatively, you can come over to Circle and join us there. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. And that's including weekly energy readings and all sorts of things. Hang out with an extraordinary group of people. They really are so talented. We've got experts in all sorts of fields knocking around in there, which is outstanding. They teach me stuff all the time. And you get to participate in the live classes that we're running over there. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. Now, Taurus. We need to just take a minute. And we need to take a minute because, I'm coming out in goosebumps all over. On May the 15th, 2018, Uranus entered Taurus. And I think it's fair to say, since that point, your life has really experienced some highs and some lows, some really big lows. Everything has changed. And I came into this process with you. I think the point at which I noticed that there was something really quite significant going on with Tauruses was January 2020. So you were already 18 months into this process by the time I came along. And I have walked alongside you while you've been doing this for 5 years now. I've witnessed what you've been through, what you've changed, how you've changed, and the incredible fucking bull that you have allowed yourself to take up space, to occupy some space in the universe, to become. This month is monumental because for the first time in 8 years, that influence is going to be gone. Right? On July the 7th, this month, Uranus is exiting Taurus and entering the sign of Gemini. Now, to be fair, there are issues that are going to come with that, and I'm sure you don't have to dig around in the astrology too much to work out what that is. But from a purely personal perspective, from a collective perspective, it's done. This Uranus transit is done, and it will never again come and attack your moon, your ascendant, your sun, whatever it is that you're here for, in the same way again. I think no matter what happens from this point on, you need to take a moment to give yourself, at the very least, a pat on the back, a glass of wine, piece of cake, something. Go treat yourself to a massage or something, because you got through it. You did everything that Uranus wanted you to do, and now the position that you are in is so completely unrecognisable to who you were in 2018. I am so fucking proud of you, and I tell you this like quite often, but it's true. And if you're not proud of yourself, I think you should be. You should be, because that's not been easy. It's not been an easy ride at all. It's not been easy to watch, to be honest. And it's not about me, it's about you. But like, fucking wow. So, I flipped the camera around. I just wanted to take a minute to let you know that, and to say that I see you, and I'm so very, very fucking proud of you. You have no idea. You really don't. Good job on becoming a bull. Not pretending to be a cow. So, with all of that said, let's get some cards out on the table and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards, please? We have Page of Wands on its side. We have the Knight of Cups in reverse. That's Pisces energy there. And what's coming towards Taurus for July, please? Thank you. We have the 3 of Wands. So, bit of a bit of a stop-start energy this month for you, but that's okay, because I feel like with this Eight of Cups in reverse here, the sense of having truly left something behind is very, very strong. Yeah, look, Eight of Cups, Six of Cups, emotionally leaving behind the past. Very, very strong here. Let's get some clarifiers out on the table and see what's going on. I mean, the first thing that you notice is there's no major arcana cards here. There's no big universal energy that is battering you around and demanding that you change or you respond in some sort of way. Everything that is happening here this month is under your control, and I think you probably quite like that. Tell me about this Page of Wands. She says there's no major arcana. There it is. We've got the full Page of Wands. Queen of Pentacles. It's Capricorn energy. Fool is obviously Aries. What about this Knight of Cups? Why is this here for? Yeah. Five of Pentacles reversed. Three of Wands. Oh my goodness. I'm coming out in goosebumps again. Tell me about the Three of Wands, please. Wow. Three of Swords reversed and the Magician reversed. There is such a fucking statement of selfhood here, Taurus. I can't even. Let's just get one more for that, though. That's two. Behave. Okay, right. We've got the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck. It's Aquarius energy there, and generally speaking, it's associated with the decision-making process. Sometimes it can represent an air sign who is in a position of authority, or just somebody who's in a position of authority, actually. But like I was saying, it's all about the selfhood here for you this month, and there isn't any way I can rather flip it around to see it in any other way, actually. I think... Here's the thing, right? So I had Pluto going through my first house for like 15 years. And for quite a lot of that time, I was completely oblivious to astrology or what might be going on my ascendant and everything. It's only towards the end of that transit that I, the last 5 years or so, that I started to have any kind of awareness of it at all. But looking back on it, I could absolutely see that Plutonian dirge, just... not even grinding, right? Just excavating over and over and over again. It's a consistent pressure, right? And that's quite Plutonian. You think about, the way that diamonds are formed or coal is formed or something like that. It's about compression. And when you're experiencing a hard Pluto transit, it's very compressy. Uranus, on the other hand, it's a very electric energy, but it has this kind of quality of turning on and then off again. Although the Tower is associated with the energy of Mars, I've come to see it as much more of a Uranian energy than anything else, or maybe kind of like a blend of the two. Because the Tower doesn't just... It can't. It's unsustainable for it to just continually fall for a protracted period of time. It hits in sharp bursts. All right, so you can have protracted Tower moments where, all sorts of parts of your life are hit again and again and again, and, in different ways. But a Tower such as it is can only really fall once, right? And that's quite Uranian to me. So it's not that you have been freed from the repressive energy of Uranus. It's just that Uranus has kicked over, it's freed you from a lot of the structures that were holding you in place for a long time. But because he comes in and he just booms things and then leaves again, I'm not sure if you necessarily will feel lighter, for example. I think a lot of astrologers said that Capricorn ascendants would feel lighter after Pluto got off their ascendant. He brought exactly the same energy to the second house, so that there was no relief. No relief whatsoever. Because there are periods where Uranus is off rather than on. And those off periods essentially being when you're sifting through the rubble and trying to work out what the fuck happened. I don't feel like it's just going to turn... It's going to feel like that energy is turned off. Nevertheless, the idea that something Uranian, something that has a Uranian quality is going to come in and kick your ascendant or kick your moon or kick your sun is gone, I think is going to bring with it at least an intellectual appreciation of having survived, having got through, and now not needing to worry about that kind of energy hitting in that same way again. That said, there's almost like a Uranian charge running through you now, Taurus. And that's something really interesting that I did not expect to feel but I do very, very strongly. I don't know if it's some sort of like very strange Stockholm syndrome, right? Where you're like, oh, my oppressor has gone. I now need to identify with him in a different way, or her, or it, right? Whatever. To some extent, I kind of felt that when Pluto left my ascendant. I was like, no, come back. I want to find my power. I want to be powerful. I felt powerful at times when you were there. I think we carry the mark of having experienced those kind of transits. They change us. And so when I say I feel like there's a Uranian charge running through you, Taurus, it's like a Uranian charge of self, of I can change things, I can affect things, I can be the liberator of myself in a way that I didn't think that I ever could be, right? 7 years down the line, I understand that I absolutely can do that. And I now hold that in my hand. Now, obviously, you're a Venus-ruled sign, so it's softer. It's not quite as chaotic and disruptive, and maybe a little bit destructive as one would usually expect Uranian energy to be. It's got that Venusian guiding hand on it now. You're embodying this, Taurus, and that's why I think what's showing up here is absolutely beautiful and such a statement of selfhood. Uranus is actually the modern day ruler of Aquarius. Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So we have some Uranian energy on the table, particularly as it pertains to your ability to make decisions that disrupt and could be considered to be hard by other people. But there's an ease with which you make them now because you're embodying some of that Uranian energy, like you carry the mark of it. And I think this is quite important for how July unfolds for you. What's really interesting is that I think the extent to which you have been manipulatable, is that a word? I think it is a word, just a bit of a mouthful word, has been entirely eradicated from your psyche. Why do I say that? Well, there are two cards here that are really catching my eye. For the longest time, the combination that I wished to see least in any reading was the Knight of Cups and the Magician, because there was something inherently manipulative about the pair of them turning up together. I often felt, I have felt in the past, that it was someone who would appeal to somebody's emotion, right? So what the Magician does is he manipulates, right? Now, in a positive sense, he manipulates reality so that he can create, and that's good. We like that. In the more pejorative instance, what we've got is somebody who manipulates people rather than being creative, is somebody who utilizes others to get what they want. Now, tapping into somebody's emotions, manipulating them to get what you want, I feel like Taurus has always had this predisposition towards being attuned to the needs of others, and it doesn't take very much pushing before what is the natural thoughtfulness of Taurus and the natural kind of thinking ahead and wanting everybody to be comfortable and happy and whatnot kicks in. And if you have someone who is, let's say, an unhealed version of what they could be, then that vulnerability in Taurus is ripe for exploitation. I think probably at least over the last 8 years, if not over the course of your entire life, you can probably point to those characters that you have met over that sort of time who have indeed exploited that part of you. The fact that they're both showing up here in the reverse means that door is closed. That is not going to happen anymore. And why? Because you, Taurus, have found your sense of self, right? What has been obliterated from your life. I can't say even now that looking back we are welcoming all of the changes and all of the things that have been taken, because I know that a lot of Tauruses were suffering with bereavement over this period, right? People, support has been taken away from Taurus. And it's very, very difficult to find a way to spin that in a good light, save for the fact that the changes that it has brought around for you have made you much more self-reliant, have made you much more almost willful, like in a willingness to exert your will that you didn't have before. I mean, we've talked at length over the last 5 years about, you know, the bull, not a cow, the Taurus being essentially a herd creature. You struggling to put your head above the parapet, not wanting to draw attention to yourself, feeling much more of a sense of safety for sure, but fulfillment in doing things collectively. Well, Uranus has forced you to over and over again stand apart, rely on yourself. Like what Uranus has been doing is creating that that awareness that you are like the others in a lot of ways, but there are some significant differences. There's some significant ways in which you stand apart. When you look in a field, right, you're not going to have 6 bulls in a field. There can be only one, right? Equally, although the cow and the bull are the same species, we can't say that they're doing the same thing, right? They're built for different purposes. And there are very many Tauruses knocking around who see themselves as cows, and you didn't need to be one of them because you are of bull stock, not of cow stock, right? So, this here, reversed, means all the ways in which you were manipulatable, all the ways in which rather unsavoury characters would have sought to exploit your vulnerabilities are done. And you have a far greater sense of purpose and of self than you have ever had before. And sometimes that involves you going with the herd, and sometimes that involves you standing back and watching what is happening, right? From a discrete distance, what's going on over there? What's going on over there? There's I think, probably would describe it as a heightened intuition with the bull Tauruses versus the cow Tauruses. And certainly a heightened trust in the abilities of self that you have developed over the course of time. If things been just really, really difficult, you know, you're much more self-directed now than you ever have been. So let's have a look over here. Right, we've got the Page of Wands. Ordinarily, it doesn't really have an astrological correspondence, right? But ordinarily, we're talking about preparation for the journey here. And I know we've talked about this quite a lot over the last few years. And was it 2023? I think it was 2023. We were talking about the importance of moving without a map, right? And I pointed out to you it was because you were in the active creation of the map. You have to make a map that's right for you, not trying to be following somebody else's map. And I know that at the time that filled a lot of Tauruses with a lot of anxiety, and understandably so, right? There's something about Taurus that likes things to be predictable, right? You're fixed earth. It's very slow moving, very methodical kind of energy. But I think what has been dispelled is this need to prepare so far in advance that the possibility of ambush by circumstances, ambush by Uranus possibly, it has been eradicated, right? There was something very fearful about the way that you approached the future for the longest time that does not seem to be showing up now in your energy, right? If the Page of Wands is the need to prepare, it's like, I don't need to prepare. I've got everything that I need It's all right here. There is no situation that is bigger than me. After the last 8 years, 7 years of what I have been through, there's very little that the universe, God, source, creator, whoever is going to be able to throw at me that I would not be able to deal with. And we see it here in the Fool and the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles innately understands the value of herself, of others around her, of everything, right? You know, in some instances, she can be a bit of a bean counter, right? She needs to know the exact value of everything. But because she's a Capricorn card, I feel like the direction of travel that Capricorn usually points in, right, because it's cardinal Earth, is coming from a place of an awareness of self-worth, an awareness of value that you never had before, and such that now you're like, well, why would I have a fucking map? Why would I do the tourist route when I can actually go explore for myself? Why would I tag myself along to some sort of guided tour when actually I'm supposed to be initiating all of these things that are coming from what I consider to be valuable? We've got the Fool card here, Aries energy. Speaking of initiation for sure, but trust, faith. There's a certain... I've spoken before about how you've been developing this kind of fluidity and flexibility that no one ever fucking thought Taurus would be epitomizing, and yet here you are doing exactly that. You know, we've shifted the control from outside to inside, shifted the security and the stability from outside to inside, and everything has changed for you. We've got the initiation of a new path for you that doesn't actually require you to throw yourself into the void with everything anxiety-ridden that might bring up for us. It's like, well, no, like, it's all good. It's not exactly like you turned into Indiana Jones overnight, because it hasn't been overnight, right? It's been 7 years. But at the same time, there's that kind of confidence that comes from having got through so many things. If I had to pick a sign, I would say Indiana Jones is kind of a Sag, right? There's something quite saggy about Indiana Jones. But it's not because he's off having adventures. It's because of the level of confidence that he has in having the adventures, right? And it's that self-confidence that I'm feeling coming off you in droves. There's tons of it. You've got faith and trust in your own abilities, faith and trust in your own value, faith and trust in your in the capacity that you hold to triumph, even if things are difficult, even if things are hard. You can take the hard work, but you can also receive the blessings. And I think that's part of what has changed for you. So much of you was locked up prior to 2018 and, you know, has been slowly, very steadily being unlocked over the course of the last 7 years. That we're starting a whole new cycle that's coming from a very, very different place to anywhere that you've been before. And that's okay. There's no strife about it. It'll be what it'll be. And there's something kind of saggy about the way that you're doing, or traditionally Sagittarian, about the way that you are approaching life now versus where you were before. So when we come into your current energy, we've got the Knight of Cups. We've got the Five of Pentacles in reverse, and we've got the Three of Wands here. Now, this Knight of Cups in reverse, in some instances, we could look at that and go, oh, that's not a good card, right? Somebody is not, they're either not giving, you know, and with all of the stuff that entails, or, you know, they're very selfish, you know, all that sort of stuff. But the fact that it's shown up with the Magician reversed as well, here, and just the feeling that I'm getting off the card full stop. If Taurus has ever had a problem, the problem has been that you've cared too much. Right? Now that's been something that a lot of Tauruses hid behind. Oh, I just care. I'm so much of an empath. I can't help myself. I'm doing all that. But we know through the very, very difficult personal work that you have been doing for fucking years now, that actually that was a shield. And behind that was a terror that you weren't going to be accepted unless you performed over and above what everybody expected. There were self-worth issues, there were value lessons, issues there. It's like, if you can't perform, if you can't be the best at everything, if you can't be the most thoughtful, right, the one who brings in the best cakes, the one who is this, that and the other, that there would be some sort of inherent rejection from the people that you cared about. And that motivated a lot of all the things that you used to do for other people. But the problem with that is, because of where it was coming from, I feel like Taurus was in a state of almost constant exhaustion. And worse than that, when you were in that exhausted state and maybe little feelings of bitterness or resentment started to rise, you'd self-flagellate like nothing else. You would literally cuss yourself out for being so bad as to even think those things, right? The effect of this was just some sort of loop that you just used to go around in again and again and again and again, right? Something very different happening here. It's not that you don't care, but it's that you are extremely selective about where your care goes. And more specifically, we're dealing with the overflow. We're not constantly trying to pour everything that we have into other people to try and shore up our feeling of value. The Five of Pentacles is a card of loss, lack, that's a better word. Just turn it around like that, right? It can sometimes be a card of isolation, of loneliness, of not having what we need, right? Or a fear of those things, which is important. Any card number 5 in the minor arcana is given to be quite an unstable, chaotic energy, right? It's very much in accordance with what 5 means numerologically, right? So we have the comfort and security and foundation of the 4, which then moves into the 5, halfway through the cycle of Ace to 10, where everything gets shaken up, everything becomes, all our best intentions, all our best work gets fucked up by the energy of 5. Now, it's not for shits and giggles. It doesn't come in to kick all that stuff over just to make you feel bad. It's the process of refining ourselves, our situations, everything. If the foundation is no good, then the 5 is absolutely going to blow it to smithereens, right? And I think again and again and again, you've been funneled towards situations that showed you where there was a kind of poverty mindset at play. Now, it doesn't have to be financial poverty mindset, right? It can be spiritual poverty, it can be emotional poverty. I think for most of you, it's absolutely sitting around the emotional poverty thing, because we were constantly looking for other people to fill for us our cup, while we're violently trying to fill everybody else's cup, and we lost sight of the fact that that was yours to do, to fill your own cup, not everybody else's. You know, I think an awareness that we're not for everyone is one of the most liberating realizations that we can ever have. It's okay for you not to be liked by everyone. In fact, it's probably proper that you're not liked by everyone. Someone who is liked by everyone is not being their authentic self. They're just not. They're being whatever the situation or the person in front of them needs them to be. That's where the exhaustion comes in. Now, the fact that this 5 of Pentacles is showing up reversed is a stabilisation of that. So we have a situation where you were constantly giving non-fucking stop to everyone, hoping that at some point someone would turn around and give back to you in the same manner. Didn't happen. Was never going to happen, actually. And over time, what you've realised is that it's for you to invest in you and everybody else to invest in them. And if you have any overflow and somebody needs it, you're quite happy to give it. But not at the expense of self. There may be some aspects of who you are now, Taurus, that you just kind of take for granted because they've been there for a while, right? It's bedded in. But if you think back to how you were a decade ago, the kind of things that you worried about, the kind of things that you overthought about, the black holes that you put yourself in, and then you flagellated yourself over being there in the first place, and used it as confirmation of the fact that you were just not as good as everybody else. Take a minute to see the difference between the two versions of you that existed in one lifetime. How much things have changed. You are stable, you are solid, you are secure, you understand your own value, and you don't feel compelled to give and give and give at the expense of yourself anymore. The future, Taurus, quite frankly, looks fucking beautiful because it contains everything that you want it to contain, everything that you are now in a position of such security, internal security, and such wisdom, right? You're literally full of wisdom. Funny, I went to a sheep fair here in Bulgaria last week, I think, and they were displaying some cows. There were some cows there that were half a ton. That was half a ton of cow, and I was like, oh, imagine that cow not realizing that it weighs half a fucking ton and it doesn't actually have to do anything that anyone says. And yet it doesn't. Now, I'm not suggesting that you weigh half a ton, right? But spiritually, Taurus, you are a half-ton animal, right? There ain't no one or nothing that should be able to push you around, and yet it happened because you let it again and again and again. Just as an aside, they had some Highland cows. I fucking love them. They're my son's favourite cow as well. They were so good. Anyway. I read about a cow recently that escaped from an abattoir. I think it kicked the abattoir workers, like boosted, swam across a river and to a little island that was in the middle of the river where it now lives. Like, it just went, no, fuck you, I'm off. Imagine if every single fucking cow realised that they were a half-ton creature and they'd be all living on their own little islands. I fucking loved it. You Google for the story if you if you're interested. But you know, I thought of you, Taurus, when I read about that. The cow going, oh no, hang on, fuck off. I weigh half a ton and I don't have to do anything that anybody tells me to do. I can follow my heart, follow my fucking dreams, go live on a fucking island and be left the fuck alone if that's what I want to do. The potential, the opportunities, the beauty that we're seeing in between these three ones here is the realization that actually you have never been restricted from being able to do that, save in here. And that's the thing that's changed, and this is what marks out your future as something so gloriously technicolor. It can be literally anything that you want it to be. And then we arrive in July proper. We have the Three of Wands, which for me I think is blessing your endeavours this month. It's the same card as this one here. You know, it's the triangular state of the Three Wands, right? But there's a feeling of plans being put into action with this. Now, I'm looking at that eye in the middle of the Three Wands. You just see it there for a second. The eye is closed, right? So we've got some sort of state of imagination starting to activate here. And the Three of Wands is about doing. It's the external expression of doing things, right? So it's experiences, sometimes it's new experiences, of choosing to do things differently. But there's something happening. And the combination of the eye and the Three of Wands more generally is something that we have envisaged is now getting acted upon. We have the Three of Swords in reverse, which is wonderful because we're talking about healing where the Three of Swords is concerned. And in fact, so here's the thing, we're kind of linking it into the King of Swords here. What I was saying before about that Uranian energy kind of running through you such that you can make decisions that you would not have made even 5 years ago now, right? That Uranian charge kind of running through you. The Three of Swords, for me, is a card that indicates that point in time where certain potentially illusory, but certainly very, very emotional interpretations of the world are run through with cold, hard steel of facts and logic. And sometimes that isn't temporally specific, right? Because there are all sorts of misapprehensions that we can be labouring under for the longest time that relate to things that have long since gone, right? Think, for example, a child who finds out, I've just watched Mobland, right? A child who finds out that their father isn't their father, right? That actually it's somebody else. The shock and that, you know, that act happened, you know, fucking X number of years ago. The facts of the matter have always existed, but the point where the facts and their emotions intersect is when we feel the pain, right? And that can happen decades and decades later. There is a shock associated with that. And it's the reason why when we move into the Four of Swords, we're talking about withdrawing, we're taking a step back, we're giving ourselves space to acclimatise ourselves to a new kind of reality that is unfurling in light of what has just been run through by facts and logic and all that sort of stuff, right? In your case, I don't feel like reality is a soft, comfy, how did we used to talk about it before, right? I know what I like what I know, and I know what I like. This is my little corner of universal real estate, and I don't want anything to change. Everything just needs to stay exactly as it always is. Like, I want to wrap myself up in cotton wool and be, immunized against the realities of reality. Bit by bit, what Uranus has been doing is stripping that away so that there is no emotional illusion now with you. None. You understand yourself very well. You understand other people very well. And more than that, you have a sense of, even if you don't know quite why you're here, there being an underlying awareness that it is really important that you're here for some reason or another, right? There's no emotional illusion anymore. New facts may come to light, but it's never going to be that same process that you've been through again and again and again, where, you know, you've had to withdraw, you've had to process, you've had to assimilate, and I wonder if some of you are starting to realise quite the extent to which you, well, I would hope that you would, right? That you participated in the creation of your own reality by using the illusory emotional stuff. Maybe poorly understood because, you know, a lot of shit happened when you were young and you didn't have the, you know, the faculties, as none of us do at that point, to actually contextualise what was happening and whether it was right or whether it was wrong, and whether this was down to you and your fault and you're bad and you're wicked and all those kind of things, you know. What I'm feeling here is a pillar of strength in you, a representation of strength in you that doesn't shy away from, oh, there's that phrase again, the ugly truth over the beautiful lie. Over the beautiful things that it was more convenient for you to decide were true. You know, that's the illusion that I'm going to work to. I, as Taurus in this point, right? It feels like all things have been dispelled. And maybe this is one of the reasons why the work that Taurus has had to do has been so accelerated. I've said before, I found it really cruel, actually. Watching, from 2020 onwards, watching what Taurus was dealing with. And I'm like, of all the fucking signs in the zodiac to force, and it did feel like it was forced, to change, forced to adapt, forced to grow, forced to be flexible. Why would you pick Taurus? That just seems like really fucking cruel. It's not that there was any kind of resistance to doing the work, it's just that there was a pace at which Taurus would have been comfortable for this to happen. And you were taken so far out of your comfort zone. It was quite literally sink or swim, and maybe some of you did sink a little bit at times, but you found the movement. Taurus is a builder. And we're not just building in what feels good now. We're building into what is strong, what is sustainable, what is going to stand for a long time. And we find ourselves at this point where everything that we thought we knew is in a state of dissolution. Dissolution. There we go. Ooh. A state of dissolution, a bubbling cauldron of chaos. We're rushing towards that point of entropy. Where would we be if Taurus was not ahead of everybody else? Because before too long, not talking about July specifically, but in the grand scheme of things, the blink of an eye, we're going to be in a restructuring phase. We're going to be in a return to order phase. It is the natural state of things, and we will be in a building phase. How could we build if we were deprived of the builders? That makes sense to me now, why Taurus had to do it so hard, so fast, to level up so quickly. Because whatever happens from here on out, a return to order is guaranteed, because it will happen. Whether it's what we like or whether it's what we don't like depends on the quality of the people who are building. We have got quality Tauruses out there making the kind of decisions that they wouldn't dream in a million years that they would be making. Very, very switched on about exactly what it is that is going on and what their role in it will be moving forwards. There's something kind of unstoppable here about you, Taurus. I'm feeling it coming off the cards really strongly. Now, I have to say, specifically with regard to this Three of Wands, I actually made a video for the members on the channel of this last week, I think, that I've been side-eyeing July quite hard for a while now. Now, there's some kind of crunchy astrology that's gone on in the month of June. But it feels like July is a pivotal turning point. Now, we know that things begin to accelerate. The planets will tell us that that acceleration is incoming, right? Because the planets simply reflect what is happening here. They're not causing it. We'll be very clear about that. And so I wonder if part of what is causing you to take positive action outside of yourself to begin to bring something that you have seen, or at least you have imagined, you have thought about up here, into the world by way of the actions that you take to do it. I'm sort of looking at this Ten of Wands here. I'm wondering if that is the catalyst, that something out in the world as a capitalist, where Taurus goes, do you know what, this is fucking enough. Like, I'm done even pretending to participate with this over here. I'm going over here to do that. I have a vision. I'm going to start building because I can. Because the Ten of Wands represents an end. Right? All tens in the tarot represent ends of sorts. But as we know, there is no such thing as a demarcated, strict end and then nothing after, right? It's something that gives way to make space for something new. The Ten of Wands is about hard work. It's about, really striving at something. Sometimes Ten of Wands for me is about making things hard for yourself, but I don't feel like that applies for you here, Taurus. We've got the idea of the way that something has always been done being the thing that gives way. And it gives way because you say, nah, enough. I'm done. Done doing it this way. I'm done being manipulated by the media, social media, expectations of society, whatever. I'm done with people ruling me and allowing myself to be ruled. Now, it's about what I want. It's about me following my heart and doing what I feel to be right. Knight of Cups in the upright here. We're shifting away from, it's like busting straight through the middle of the entropy, Taurus, and going, right, well, okay, well, that was shit. And actually what just broke down was shit before anyway, so should we just go build something new, something better? Now, when we're talking about building, I'm not necessarily talking about you getting a hod of bricks and, literally creating a building, but some of you might be doing that. Some of you might be moving. Some of you might be starting to speak your mind, possibly. And that could be incredibly influential if you're choosing to do that, Taurus. I think the shift, though, is at the very least energetic and metaphorical. The sense of you being tethered in any way whatsoever to what went before, gone. And what's picking up speed here this month is you starting to do the work to bring in what you have seen in here rather than where you have come from. This is very fucking special indeed, Taurus. Very special. Now, I've been prattling on for ages, so I think I'm going to go to the extended now. If you would like to join me, you're very welcome to do so. The links to come across either to Self-I or to Circle are in the description box below. I'd be delighted to see you in either place, I'll be honest. The work starts here, right? Uranus is done with you now. Uranus has done... God, that sounded a little bit risque. Uranus has done inserting himself into you. That's what I was going to say. Oh, I said it anyway now, right? He's done. He did what he needed to do. He freed you. He liberated you. And now you carry that work forward. Now, is it possible that Taurus purpose involves building something that helps other people also be liberated, also be freed by something that you have seen coming? Possible. Absolutely possible. But this is where things start, I think, to feel very, very real for you. And I can feel that infusion of purpose very, very strong here. So anyway, I'm going to stop prattling on here. I'm going to go to the extended. I am so fucking proud of you, Taurus. Like, I know I haven't met most of you, but I feel connected to you. And as such, it doesn't matter if I haven't met you. It doesn't matter if you're 6,000 miles away from where I am right now. I feel you, I see you, and I am so very fucking grateful that you showed up for yourself. Because the rest of us are going to reap a massive fucking benefit for that, you know? So, know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.